from the transformational perspective for me, it was like, okay, now I want to do more of this. I want to do more of those items on my list, and the ones that I'm like, okay, I want to have a schedule of these. I want to know when I'm going to be doing these, and how can I stack a couple others, in with a trip where I'm at.
Welcome to the Crossing It Off podcast, where we believe living with intention through a bucket list lifestyle is a great way to bring yourself personal joy. As you are crossing items off your list, you're actually filling up your bucket. The more items you cross off, the more joy gets added, until eventually your joy spills over into the lives of those around you. Now let's start crossing it off together. I'd like to welcome my guest, Jeff Kikel. Jeff describes himself as focused, driven, happy, and free. Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thank you, my friend. Can't wait to get on here. So
yeah, I'm glad you finally made it.
Yeah.
So tell us, what did you cross off your list?
So number 32 on my bucket list was that I wanted to drive a really fast car on one of my favorite tracks. And so I was in London for Valentine's Day, which was another bucket list item, but in London for Valentine's Day. And when I was searching stuff online, I had been trying to get onto the Formula One track here in Austin to race a Lamborghini, and there's just too many races and I couldn't fit in on my time schedule. So I just happened to be looking when I was heading over to London, and I was like, I wonder if they do any kind of stuff at Silverstone Raceway, which is one of my favorite Formula One tracks. And I find out that they have a race school that I could drive a Aston Martin V12 Vantage on the Silverstone track. And so I was like, done. It's within my budget. It was 295 pounds.
That's not bad
for 4 laps around Silverstone, which is a pretty long track, and just had an absolute blast. I mean, it made me want to do all kinds of things like that.
I'm sure. So what is it about fast cars? What was it that you like? I've got to put something about fast cars on my bucket list. Where'd that come from?
I've been a race fanatic my entire life. I've been a car fanatic my entire life. One of the things that, kind of came out of my whole bucket list journey was, although I loved all these things, I never did it. I never bought a really fast car. I never bought, I always bought the safe car, or I bought the one, my wife would have a nice car and I would have the practical car. And I just, it was one of those things I just never did. I just never spent the money on. And I sold, my business last year, really prioritized a lot of this. And, I'm now getting to do the fun stuff. And, I make a good living, and I'm like, I don't really want a super fancy, super expensive car, but damn it, I can pay, $300 or $400 and I can go have fun for a day, and then I don't have to maintain the thing.
Yeah, exactly. I've always liked Jaguars.
Jaguar,
but there's no way I'd ever own one. I would like to drive one. I mean, that would be fun. Like you said, I'd like to drive one,
Absolutely.
But having it, I wouldn't want to drive it anywhere because I'd be afraid that something would happen to it. So I'm just like,
between that and at least with the Aston Martin, it's a really, really, really nice car. I mean, it's a beast, and it's an amazing car to drive on the track, but I could see myself driving it on the street. I would be like you, though. I'd be petrified to drive it because I would expect people to run into it. But, like a Lamborghini, it's the world's most impractical vehicle. I mean, the thing rides like it's on buckboards, and what do I need that for? But it's kind of fun to be able to do it.
Yeah. So I think this is a great example of how, you don't have to own stuff. You can just go out. I'm a big fan of not owning a bunch of houses, but because I can go anywhere and get in a really nice house through Vrbo or Airbnb.
Yep. Absolutely.
So I love this. So talk to us about the process. You said that you were already going on a trip to London, and so this kind of came about. You did some research. So you go to the track. Is it an all-day thing? How does this?
It's basically a half day. So what you do is you go out there. You get there early in the morning. It's like 8:00 in the morning. I was really worried about this because it's mid-February in London, so it could be rainy. It could be horrible weather. Turned out to be the most amazing trip ever. It was pretty much in the 50s and low 60s the whole time. Rained one day, not the day that I was out at Silverstone, which was amazing. So it was a beautiful blue skies day, 50 degrees, perfect racing day. You go out, they give you kind of a safety briefing when you get out there, just to say, hey, here's here's what you need to do, and please don't break our really expensive cars. They take you on a familiarization ride around the track, and so basically they've got a professional race car driver that's taking you around the track and giving you everything that you need from that perspective. And then when I went out there on the track, I basically had that race car driver with me. So the whole time, he knows the track. I sort of kind of knew the track, but never having driven it, it's there's entrances to the, to the apexes and everything else that you're doing. And you want to be able to drive it right. And so having that driver in your ear the whole time, who's like, okay, hammer it, hit it hard. And you're sitting there going, okay, we're coming up on a corner here. And he's just telling you, no, keep going. Okay, now brake. Now hit the brakes, come into go into the apex. Okay, now we're halfway through, hit it hard, coming out of there. And so it was great because I just listened to him and did exactly what he was saying, instead of what my body was telling me to do, which was, holy crap, we're doing 120 miles per hour into a corner. But it's amazing. You trust the vehicle, because the vehicles are designed to do that. And so being able to trust the vehicle and know, okay, if I listen to him, we're going to go into that corner, doing 80 or 90 miles an hour and being able to come out of there at full speed. So that was it. We got some video. I supposedly it's supposed to come to me here very soon. So I'll be putting that up on my social media and everything else, just showing that. But yeah, it was a great day, 4 hours out there. So, plenty of time to just have fun. We got 4 laps on the track. So we did 2 laps and then came back, and then we kind of debriefed a little bit and then went out there. I went out there by myself for the remaining 2 laps.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, was it all tandem, or you had that opportunity to go solo?
2 laps with him and then 2 laps by myself, which actually was cool because my times were faster with myself. Because I knew the track and I remembered what he was saying and those things, and just a few little mess ups and in a couple corners that, it bobbled a little bit coming out of the corner. But yeah, just amazing thing. And it made me just super excited to do more things like that.
When you first get in the car, even with the professional driver with you,
yeah.
What are you thinking? Are you like white knuckling the steering wheel, or?
Well, I'm thinking the whole time that I've just signed a thing that says if I break the car, I'm going to have to pay money.
Oh,
so you can buy like a little insurance package, which I did, because I'm like, okay, I'm not going to break this car. But you still sign a waiver saying, yeah, if you break this car or kill yourself, it's not our fault. So it's hey, I don't want to make myself look like an idiot. I literally, the funny thing is I'm a huge fan of this one racing game on my phone. And so I have literally raced that track hundreds and hundreds of times with the same car, but you're still not, it's a real thing now, and it's funny because the Aston Martin, which is just ungodly loud outside, is so quiet inside. So it doesn't sound like a race car. So it's just a really, really nice car, and being able to drive it was just a blast. It's just amazing.
Yeah, anything James Bond drives has to be.
Oh yeah, it has to be good. Yeah,
so, yeah. So you went on this trip to London with your wife, and so how was she during this, watching you experience this? Was she white knuckling her purse?
No. So she got to ride with me on those 2 other rides. So she at least got to ride with me. She didn't want to drive. I was trying to convince her. I was like, come on, you drive the Ferrari, I'll drive the V8 or V12 Vantage. And she just didn't want to drive. And that's just not her thing.
Yeah.
So she got to ride with me on that trip around and scream the whole way as we were going around, because it's like, slow down. I'm like, no, you keep going here. But yeah, it was fun because, it was a trip where we decided to do some stacking of bucket list items, and she had stuff on her list that she wanted to accomplish. I had stuff on mine, so it was just this was my thing, it was my day, and we had her days on other days.
Was she concerned? I mean, was she concerned for you, or was she
No,
just
no.
no?
I mean, well, when she was concerned for me when I was out there with the driver, but she was more concerned for her when it came to the,
I'm
because
sure.
she's just like, I mean, I can't believe that, or why are we going so fast? And I'm like, because we're on the Silverstone race course, and I only have 2 laps to do this in. So
Yeah,
yes, we're going to keep doing it.
bring it in. So,
Yeah.
how are you feeling with those 2 laps when you're in total
Oh,
control? I mean, how's your body? What's your mind?
well, I mean, it's you're in the zone. I mean,
Hmm.
when you're going 140 miles per hour in a straightaway, and Silverstone has a couple of really really long straightaways. When you're coming into the kind of the finish line area, I mean, you can get that car up to about 170, 180 miles per hour coming out of the last corner and going into that. So I mean, it's like highly focused. And you're doing that, and then when you're out there, if you race correctly, you're always kind of thinking to the next corner, so you're looking to the next corner and planning your entrance and exit from the next corner. So that's, your mind is completely busy. So I didn't really, I didn't have time to sit back and like, hey, put the hand on the wheel, and and I'm just kind of cruising around. I mean, I'm literally trying to go as fast as I possibly could.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was that, it was, the problem is it was over with so fast, and I'm like, damn, now I want to do it again. And now I have to go all the way over to London to do it. Now, fortunately, I live in Austin, where there's a Dakota track here in Austin. So I'm like, okay, there's experiences like that here, that if I wanted to do it more than that, I could, or as we travel now, I'm like, wonder where I can fit, is there more things like this in other places?
Yeah. So, if someone came to you and you're sitting in a cafe in London,
Hmm.
and you're sharing this experience, and someone overhears you and is like, "Oh, I think I'd like to do that. Tell me
Yeah.
more." What was something that you would tell them? Oh, if you're going to do this, you've got to X beyond the standard Nike slogan of "just do it."
Just do it. Yeah.
What would you tell them? What was something that you wish you would have known, or that you experienced and would want somebody else to have that same
I
experience?
would say the one thing is to really enjoy the experience. I would always take some kind of a racing class somewhere, and there's tons of those. If you have any kind of a racetrack anywhere near you, I've gone to racing schools before. I now drive once again, my safe life, where I've always driven the car I didn't want. Well, I bought a Camaro, and I'm like, I drive that like I drive on a track half the time. But yeah, I mean, I've taken racing classes, and that made it a more enjoyable experience, because if you're just out there and you're like, I have never driven on a track before, you're going to be scared of it. You're not going to drive it to its limits, which is why you're doing it to begin with. So I'd encourage people to take, just even if it's a familiarization ride or something like that, just so that you understand how you drive, because you don't drive the same way you drive on the streets. I mean, most often you're going and braking into a corner, and you've got your feet on the gas and the brake at the same time, which most of us move our foot from one to the other. Well, you're driving with both feet in those cases. And so just being able to understand that made it a way more enjoyable experience.
You get out of the car, you're done
Yep.
with your 4 laps as
Yep.
quick as it was, and you're going on with the rest of your day.
Hmm.
Was there anything about the experience that was like transformational for you? Like, you look at the world differently now?
Well, I think for me, it's probably the first, you and I have talked before. I came to bucket listing later in my time, and it's now part of the system that I do in my business, from a financial perspective. But this was like the first big thing that didn't just happen
Here at the Crossing It Off podcast, we are passionate about inspiring you in your bucket list lifestyle and empowering you to live out your list. We offer many resources to assist you in your bucket list journey, such as web resources in the show notes, bucket list mentoring services, my book Live Out Your Lists, a private Facebook group for you to share your bucket list success stories with others, and more. All of these can be found at crossingitoffpodcast.com. Find the resource that fits your need so that you can live out your list. Now back to the show.
Because it happened. This was my first really conscious, big item that I wanted to do. And, once again, it wasn't much. I mean, it's like 295 pounds. So it was unbelievably cheap, especially with the way the dollar and the pound is right now. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it was from the transformational perspective for me, it was like, okay, now I want to do more of this. I want to do more of those items on my list. And the ones that I'm like, okay, I want to have a schedule of these. I want to know when I'm going to be doing these and how can I stack a couple others, in with a trip where I'm at, so that I can do a lot more of this type of stuff.
So you've used that word a couple times now, stack.
Yeah. Stack it, baby.
Yeah. So how was that experience for you as far as looking at your trip in London as a whole? Saying, okay, I'm going to try to get as much as I can off this list. Was that a frustrating process? Was that a good process? How was your experience with saying, okay, I'm going to do multiple things?
It was really an amazing process, and especially with my wife, because she has different things on her list than I had, mm-hmm. And things off of her list were not necessarily things that I would go, oh, I wanted to do this, but it was actually kind of fun. One of the things on her list was she wanted to go to an afternoon tea. We've always seen it, and you just see all that kind of stuff.
High tea.
So, we looked around at all the possible ways of doing this at all these hotels, and somehow she blundered into, well, we could do one at Kensington Palace, and they've got this really nice thing that overlooks the gardens, and it's a little pavilion. So okay, we'll pay for this. I mean, it's like $100 a person, but it was amazing, because it was, and it's the nature of that is you take your time, which we're Americans and we tend to just blunder through life as quickly as possible. But, we had an amazing afternoon. We probably spent 2.5 hours there, and it was just her and I. And we're eating this massive mound of food that they give you and drinking tea and just having a good time. And that was like one of our top things on our trip was that, I told you before, I wanted to do one of my items on my list is I always loved the song Werewolves of London. And so I wanted to make a video of that. So we did, and we went all around London. It took us like 7 days. We were there for 7 days, and it took us 7 days to film in all these different locations and try and follow the song. But then we were like, well, what would that was in the 70s. What would a werewolf in 2023 be doing? Well, he'd probably be doing selfies and things. And so we did all of that, so it was just a fun experience, and just kind of, layering those things on. It made the trip so much more fun because it wasn't just about doing the touristy crap. Mm-hmm. It was about, hey, we're doing stuff that we really want to do. And it's stuff that, I will remember forever, these fun things that we did. So, that's the cool thing about doing a trip, to a location, and where you can look at what's on my list and can I do some of these things in these areas?
Yeah, I love the idea of, and I talk about it in my book, of couples each having their own list and then having lists together. I think that's super important because there needs to be that grace of saying, okay, this is something you're into, go do it, or I'll go do it with you. Yeah. And like you said, just the joy of going to tea with your wife.
Yeah.
Well, it's not on your list, but because she's bringing her joy.
Yeah.
And it's a decent activity that you get joy out of it too.
Yeah. Well, and I never thought I would enjoy it as much as I did. It was absolutely amazing experience. I look at tea differently today. I don't know if I want to do the whole afternoon tea thing, at home, but I look at tea in a wholly different way than I've ever looked at it before, and understand how that's such a part of the culture there in London that, it was just, like I said, it was an amazing experience. And a different way to look at the city. Typically we're always just like on the go. We get up early in the morning and we're trying to knock off all the touristy things. And this time it was like, we did our touristy stuff, but we also kind of slowed down a little bit and just were part of London.
Yeah.
We were living there,
Yeah. I've gotten in the habit when I do those kind of trips that I spend at least one day doing this, at least going and seeing the old stuff that everybody says that I should. Like, I spent 10 hours in Rome, and like sick of that, I walked 10 miles just getting pictures with all the stuff, right? So I could post that on Instagram.
I can say I've been here.
Everybody else can be happy with all of my wonderful, honeypot destination pictures, but then I'm going to go and do these other things that I want to do. Same thing happened in London. I spent my first, half of my first day just going and walking around and seeing all the stuff that everybody says that you should go do. And then the next 4 days, I just spent my time doing my thing.
And it's, what we did a little bit differently about this trip was kind of cool. Crystal used to be a travel agent, so she could plan the fun out of any trip. But what we ended up doing this time is we said, okay, well, instead of thinking of things as, okay, we want to go see these things, what we decided to do was, okay, let's pick a neighborhood for a day, and then whatever's there, we're going to go see, but we're just going to kind of get the feel for that neighborhood. So, like we went to Notting Hill one day, and it was on Saturday, so it was the Portobello Road Market, which was it's just crazy. I've never seen so much crap in my life. It was like every old lady's house blew up on the street. But I mean, it's such a cool experience because that's just a neat little neighborhood,
right?
And you just kind of wander around and buy a cup of coffee here, and stop at a cafe and sit and just kind of enjoy life and watch people. And but yeah, it's sucking the marrow out of life at that point. So
I have to admit, I do follow you online. And I saw the Harry Potter collage of places. So you didn't take a tour for that. You just went.
No, we just found them. Yeah. So so the thing was, they have the Universal Studios has a whole, it was like all the sets and all that stuff. Well, this trip kind of came about. We were like, hey, let's go to London. And so we saw the Harry Potter thing. And we're like, oh, this is awesome. Let's go do that. And, usually big tourist attractions, you just go online, you buy tickets, and we go online, there's no tickets available. And it's like, what the heck's going on? Well, it's a working movie studio, so they only let a certain number of people on and these tours. Well, what we didn't know, and it was kind of weird, is the week of Valentine's Day is like spring break times 50, and all the kids are off school. So of course they're all going there.
They're sold out.
And if you didn't book something 3 months ago, and really, if you're ever going to London, you're a Harry Potter fan and you want to go see that, make sure you book it like 3 months ahead of time, because it is so busy. So we're sitting there and it's like, oh man, we were all bummed out. And then Crystal was reading one of her guidebooks, and they're like, oh yeah, well, here's Harry Potter's London. And there's all these little pieces and parts of the movie that were filmed actually in London. So we just found all those and we started going around to them. And, we had our little Harry Potter, scarves and stuff like that, dorky as all get out, but went to like the Green Gots Bank. Well, that's the Australian embassy, and took pictures there, and then found the 9 3/4 platform and the train station. It's actually there. Big ugly tourist attraction that they want you to take pictures. I just took a picture of, and didn't pay for the picture there. But it was just a lot of fun stuff like that. We found like one of the little pubs. We found it in the Borough Market and all that kind of stuff. So it was like a combination of just things that we were finding around town, but really, and it's stuff that everybody I've talked to and everybody's seen it on Facebook. It's like, oh my God, that was amazing. That was so cool that I didn't even know this stuff existed. So,
Yeah, I had that same experience because I did a whole day of just finding Ted Lasso
oh, geez.
locations. Yeah. And everybody's like, where, how, what?
How
And
did
I'm
you
like,
find that? Yeah.
trust me, it wasn't easy. So,
Yeah, one of my buddies is a podcaster and former Marine, yet that Mr. Badass, and he's like the biggest Harry Potter dork that's ever existed. And he's just like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm so we went over there and to London, or we went to Ireland and went to the caves, these caves and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, you are a dork.
yeah.
I just did it in one day. You went like a specific vacation for it.
Well, I mean, everybody geeks out about something. That's what I like to say.
Absolutely.
So that's
Absolutely.
okay.
I geek
Jeff,
about race cars.
there you go. So what's next on your bucket list? What's something else you want to cross off?
So next item on my bucket list was the one you and I had talked about a long time ago. So race season is kind of over here in about a month. So I've already paid for it, and it's I'm going to go drive a Lamborghini on the Dakota track, the Circuit of the Americas. So that's my big plan for April. And what I did is it's what I teach people to do, when it comes to financial stuff. You got to give yourself rewards as you're going. I created an income stream. I bought some real estate and created an income stream that pays me about $500 a month. And I detailed out 12 of these kind of experiences involving planes, trains, or automobiles that all are about $500. And I'm just going to do one of those every month for the next 12 months.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yep.
What's after the Lambo? What's next on that?
Next will be drift driving school, because I've wanted to learn how to drift forever. Right south of me, I didn't even know this existed. The Texas Drift Academy.
Wow.
And then after that, probably in the summertime, will be Dirtfish up by you, which big rally school. So
Nice.
I've wanted to go to Dirtfish for probably 6-7 years now.
Have you ever heard of the Mongol Rally?
What's that?
Oh my gosh, bro. So this is a race of just regular people.
Yeah.
And it starts in England someplace, and it ends in Mongolia.
Oh Jesus.
And it takes 2 or 3 weeks.
Sure.
But the stipulation is you have to bring your own car.
Okay.
And it can't be the engine can't be any bigger than 1,500 cc's.
Good Lord. and you're trying to get through the Hindu Kush and everything else in a 1,500 cc car.
Yes. They say 50% of the cars don't make it. So.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's So I've got a bunch of other items. I've got cars, I've got planes. Unfortunately, one of mine, it was going to be the B-17 that's based out of Dallas that crashed a few months ago. So I felt really horrible about, the pilots and everything else, but there's others around the country. And so, I'll mix those in with part of my 12.
Nice.
Finish off with a Miami Vice, like the big monster boat in Miami. So I have to do a little Miami Vice thing.
Big cigar boat. Nice.
Big cigar boat, man. So I've planes, trains, and automobiles and boats thrown
awesome.
in there too.
Jeff, where can folks find you online and tell us a little bit about what you do there?
Well, so you could find me online. I have my own podcast, freedomnationpodcast.com. We talk about all things Freedom Nation. Basically, I've been a financial advisor for 30 years. I realized somewhere in there that the crap that we've been talking about doesn't work for most people. And I started to change my mindset and went off, started my own businesses, bought some real estate, did a whole bunch of things that were kind of outside of the realm of what I would teach clients to do. And within 7 years of me starting that, I was financially free. I basically can go do whatever the hell I want, whenever I want. And, when I discovered bucket listing, I was kind of at a weird point in my life. And I also met Roger as a result of that. And, beyond the bucket list, it was reading Roger's book, which helped me to go, okay, you got to have meaning behind this. You got to have
Mm-hmm.
intention. And that's really what I do today. I teach my clients financially how to get to where you want to be, how to figure out a way to get your freedom from the cubicle from hell that's killing you, but also to build that intentionality throughout your life. Just like I said, I looked at this and I was like, hey, I want to do, all these planes, trains, and automobiles thing. Well, they all were about $500. Well, how can I make $500? So that's the way my brain is wired now. And I'm trying to do that with my clients to get them out of that. Well, I'm going to save for this and get them into how can I create an income source to pay for all the things that I want to do.
That's awesome. And your website is?
So it's www.freedomnationpodcast.com.
Okay.
I also have the Freedom Day book coming out. So you can go to freedomdaybook.com. And if you are a Roger listener, you will actually get a discount on the book, the ebook that'll be out. And that'll be $4.95 for everything that took me 30 years to figure out.
There you go. Awesome. We will put that in the show notes so that people can find it. Jeff, thank you so much for being here, sharing your adventure, and I wish you all the luck on 12 months of trains, planes, automobiles, and boats.
Thank you, my friend. Keep up with me, and we'll catch it up.